UK Crime Book Club. I am thrilled. We've got Tina here to celebrate publication day, launch day for Slaughterhouse Farm. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We can see the cover behind you. I was going to say, show us the cover. And you've got your, look at that gorgeous Devon Longhouse.
Yeah, they've done a beautiful job. Yes, it is a well spotted, Sam.
I didn't know that's what it was called until you told me the other day.
Yeah.
But beautiful. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Slaughterhouse Farm is the second in the CSI Ali Diamond series. So we have our CSI Ali Diamond. She's currently on compassionate leave, dealing with some repercussions that may have happened in book one. And
no comment.
No further comment. And we have a new DI comes in to investigate a murder, and she doesn't really know much about the locale. So she goes to Ali Diamond and says, can you help with this particular murder? And this particular murder is an older lady is found wandering Exmoor late at night with a knife in her hand and in a bloodied nightshirt. And back in the family farmhouse is the body of her adult son. So then it's a murder that starts to unravel around whether or not this older lady, who appears to be in a catatonic state or appears to not want to talk about what happened. So the police are kind of left with very few clues, very few things to go on about what would have brought this woman who adored her son to commit this terrible murder. And so Ali very slowly can't really resist getting drawn into the investigation, and it goes on from there.
And you have not made things easy for yourself as an author. Don't do things by halves, do you?
No, I kind of throw the kitchen sink at it, don't I?
But in a good way. It's really easy to follow all the strands, and you can keep up with what's happening and to who, and we'll delve more into that. But you have not made it easy for yourself. I don't know how you did this.
Well, the thing is, Sam, crime readers are just so clued up. They just, they're just on top of the game, basically. You've got people who read enormous amount of crime. I read an enormous amount of crime, and trying to find those sleights of hands, those twists, those turns that are just about plausible and throw the reader off. It's first of all, it's a challenge I absolutely love. It's almost my favorite part of writing, is to do the plotting, to see if I can outwit people. And secondly, I think people reading crime kind of expect it. And of course, it's very different to book one in that sense. So book one is a different kind of narrative to book two. And book two, I just kind of wanted to just give readers some real twisty-turny adventures on the way to the conclusion. And really, hopefully, by the time they get to it, they go, oh, I didn't see that coming. And then go, oh, yeah, no, it all makes sense. Yeah, no, I get it now. That was my kind of intention when I set out to write it. But I come unstuck a lot myself.
Oh, we've got hello from Sarah. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Sarah, you've been really getting into these interviews lately. It's really nice to have a friendly name and a friendly face to things. You really go for it with when you're saying the plausibility. So the truth versus fiction, you can't have too much reality in a crime fiction book, but at the same time, you can't stretch it too far. So you clearly have really thought about just where you can put this line in this book.
And you know what? It's a movable line, Sam. I think it's probably one of the biggest conversations crime writers have with themselves and with each other. How far can I push this before I pop over that line of plausibility? Because it is really difficult. And the reality of policing, it is fiction. If we did the reality of policing, even scenes of crime, I can tell you a lot of scenes of crime work is quite repetitive and quite mundane, and there's a lot of paperwork. It doesn't make good fiction. So we kind of know that's our starting point, but then how far do we take it? And that is an ongoing conversation that I just don't think there's any answer to. I think it comes down to you as a writer. How much do you want to push those boundaries? How much do you think you can get away with? How much of a flavor do you need to give of your policing world that your reader buys into it and goes with you? How much your reader's willing to forgive you for going down these certain avenues? And I think you can only kind of set your rules, set your parameters, and create your world and kind of hope that your reader just goes with you. But there is no definitive answer. Some people love it to be on point. They really do. They like all the procedure stuff. And some people are kind of really happy for you to go, pretty much full on line of duty and just go hell for leather for that great story. So it's a really tricky balance, really.
We've got some hellos. We've got Kaz and Laura. And Kaz is saying she's heard a lot of good things about this book. It's an excellent book. It's an excellent book.
Thank you.
And hi from Ben, Rose, Alice, Richard, and Sophie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's my family. Sorry, I should know that, shouldn't I?
I did wonder.
Yes, I'm related to them. Do you know what? They've gone for a walk on the beach. So they're dialing in from the beach because the weather down in North Devon today is stunning and you have to make the most of it. So they're all down at Instow Beach and so they've dialed in from the beach. Thank you, everyone.
How lovely. Charlie Tyler says, hello, love the cover.
Hi, Charlie. Yeah, it's a lovely cover. I'm really pleased with the
cover. Tell us about the cover because the Devon Longhouse does feature in the book. So it's not like some random cover. There's a point, not that I'm saying any covers are random, but this one in particular, there's a real point to the cover.
Yeah. So Slaughterhouse Farm is obviously the name. It's kind of like the known name. So if you live in Devon, you probably know what I'm talking about. We have the official map name, and then we have the name that everyone's called it for a million years. And there's even a bit of a joke in the book about it because the DI comes from London and can't get a head around the idea that none of the map names are what people actually call things in North Devon. And it is a bit of a Devon-y thing. But Slaughterhouse Farm is kind of the name of this farm, and it did have a slaughterhouse that existed many years ago in the woods, and the local farmer, the farmer who owned the farm, would slaughter animals. Ideally, mostly it's meant to be for personal consumption. You can slaughter for personal consumption, but they were perhaps a little bit broad with that definition. And I wanted it to be very Devonian. I wanted to be a Devon farmhouse, and the natural thing was to have a longhouse. So I think they have longhouses in other parts of the country, but we have the Devon longhouse, and it's classically, years ago, the family would live in one half of the house and the animals would live in the other half of the house. And the idea would be to keep the animals warm and to protect them. And of course, their warmth would keep the family warm. And as a result, you had these kind of elongated houses that you see all over Devon. And so when we came to discuss the cover, we were sort of having a chat about it. And I said, I'd love it if you could get a picture of a Devon longhouse. And there it is.
And gorgeous it is as well.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I must have driven past hundreds of these houses.
Yeah,
I used to spend a lot of time in Devon as a child, up until being a teenager. So I've probably gone past loads and not realised what they were. Yeah,
there's dozens. Yeah, it's a very common sight. Once you start looking out for them, you notice them. You do notice them.
I feel like a road trip's in order.
Oh, definitely. Especially now, Sam. The sun has finally come out down here.
Oh, I don't like the sun.
Glorious. Oh, right. Oh, okay. Oh, you should have been here a couple of weeks ago when it was hailing. It was hailing a couple of weeks ago.
See you in November, December time.
Yeah.
The sun's out in Manchester. I'm not a happy girl in the sun. Donna says hello as well. Hello, Donna.
Hello, Donna. Hi.
Sarah's saying the book is really great. It really is. I was talking to you briefly before we came online and said, well, there's actually a lot of things I can talk about because there's so much going on that I don't feel like any of it's giving something away.
No.
So, really good planning there. You mentioned a minute ago something about when we're talking about how much reality you can put in there. About procedure and what you can get away with. Is there anything that bothers you when you read it in somebody else's book, or anything that readers find particularly annoying that you can think of?
I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of in the kind of fast and loose end of the spectrum. I just love a great story. So I can read something and think, oh, that's not quite right. I think and to be honest, when you have a little knowledge, having worked within policing, that's not always a good thing because you might spot something and you might go, oh, but I'll be honest, it's never, ever, ever ruined my enjoyment of a book. And the only thing that sometimes I will kind of stumble on, and it's because it's the written word, is when people use words like autopsy, and which is just not a word we use in general in the United Kingdom. We would call them postmortems, and we don't really have morgues, we have mortuaries. So it's only really things like that I'll go, oh, but honestly, I don't mind. And even now when people go, you know, I read about characters traipsing through crime scenes and they don't have the gear on, I'm just thinking, I'm good with it all. You know, a great story is a great story for me.
I've got to admit, I agree with you. I know it really bothers a lot of people, but I had a feeling we'd be on the same page with it.
Yeah.
No, I'm like that. If I'm lost in the story, I'm lost in the story, and something might jar me for a minute, and then I've forgotten again because it's so good.
Yeah.
You know, things, as long as everything else is going well, doesn't bug me, which I know would irritate other people, that it doesn't bug me when I read so many books. But
yeah.
No,
and when I'm researching, you know, I do take it very seriously. I do try and get it as right as I possibly can. So I'm not so fast and loose that when I'm writing, I ignore police procedure and police processes. But equally, you know, I'm always looking for that balance. You know, it just needs to be right enough, really, to carry your story forward. And if you've written something that you really, really, really can't make work, then you perhaps have to nearly change what your story is going to be. But that kind of would be last resort territory for me, actually. So I mean, I was doing just on a blog on crime writing tips, and somebody was asking me what would be my top tip, and I was saying to them, you know, if in doubt, create a police squad. The police create squads all the time, and you can have a squad for anything. So if you're doing something left of field, like investigating supernatural or, you know, extraterrestrial landings or something like that, something that you know that would be completely outside a policing remit, just create a squad and set your own rules and off you go. So there's always a way around it.
I do love that. That's a brilliant idea. Laura asked, and I was asking whether I should say this before we came online, and we've talked about where the line is between what I am going to say and what I'm not going to say. Laura said, can it be read as a standalone, as it's the second in the series? And we both agreed no.
Yeah.
It can, but technically it can't.
Yeah. If you read it as a standalone,
because the overarching,
it is a series. It's meant to be written as a standalone. But Sam, you're absolutely right. If you read it, it will tell you things about book one that you might wish to learn reading book one first before you go into book two. But it's up to you. It can be either. It's up to you.
I suppose it depends whether you think that finding out certain things about book one would be a spoiler. If it wouldn't ruin it for you, I still think you should read them in order because they're both brilliant. So
thank you.
Buy both. Buy both. Treat yourself. Charlie says, when did you come up with the plot? Was it while you were still writing Breakneck Point or when you'd finished? Great question.
That is a great question, actually. It was when I was still writing. I was editing Breakneck Point, and I had an idea. I knew I had the idea of this elderly lady being on a moor, being found with a knife and covered in blood. I had that idea, and I had the final scene, the denouement, if you like, and it was kind of trying to join the dots between the two. So it came to me, when I was editing Breakneck Point. I think I had a rough idea, but the plotting started then. So it's over a year ago. It's 18 months ago now, I think. Yeah, must be. Yeah.
Do you often do that? Start writing the next thing while you're editing the previous one?
Yeah. I have to at the moment. I'm on a book a year, so I kind of have to. Otherwise, I get completely caught out and have to have furious writing sessions, which I'm not terribly good at. So I have to be really organised. So number 3, which at the moment, which is set in an island. It's an island, investigation set in an island just off North Devon, which looks very like Lundy, which is just off North Devon. That's currently just gone to my editor, and I'm now thinking of 4, just very lightly. I've got rough ideas about where 4 is going to go. I know roughly what it's about. Now I'm going to start plotting it until 3 comes back, and then I go back to 3 and carry on the editing process for 3.
That's really exciting. So I've gone from finding out that book 3 is underway to finding out that book 4 is in your head.
It's in my head. Yep.
That's really exciting. I love it when I find a series and then I find out there's more to come.
Yeah. And it's great for me to write it. I'm loving it.
I bet it is. And Ali's she must just be a great character, right? Because she's definitely a great character to read.
Thank you very much. Yeah, she is. I mean, she's very feisty, isn't she? I knew I wanted my protagonist to be really strong-willed and really flawed. And I think sometimes she's so strong-minded to the point that she's really quite a little bit irritating, and that she does have qualities that are quite dislikable.
She didn't irritate me, but maybe she irritates Megan a little bit, her daughter.
Oh yeah, she definitely.
For anyone who's not ready yet.
Yeah, she definitely irritates her daughter. But I wanted that. I just felt that was nearer to how we all are. We're very complex, aren't we? She has a softer side, but she definitely has a not softer side. Life hasn't been easy for her. She's a lone parent, and she's doing a really tough job. She's doing shifts, and she's trying to manage a wayward teenager. Yeah, she does lash out. She does have bad moments because that's real life. That's our experiences. So it was really important for me to develop a character who wasn't a victim. I wanted her to be very strong, to be able to stand up for herself, and to be able to be bolshy, actually, when it needed to be. To do what she does, she has to have those facets to her character. So that was very, very clear to me, and she develops as well. So in book one, she's she finds herself in a tough place. She's very angry for lots of reasons. And in book two, her character is evolving even further because she's in a different set of circumstances. And 3, 4, and hopefully 5 and 6, that will continue to be the process. So she doesn't stay the same, because her life doesn't stay the same. It changes. It moves through.
And that's exactly what I was going to say, that she really is evolving constantly, because as one thing's thrown at her, it makes her think of things in a different light than she has before. And she really does roll with it. She really just gets on with it, learns, still makes mistakes. We all make mistakes. We're all a bit annoying at times. I'm sure my kids would sound really irritating.
Am I?
Don't ask my husband, he'd really agree. But hopefully we all learn and we all grow. And it's really nice to see that with a character, and with a really likable character, somebody that you're rooting for. We're really rooting for Ali to be okay with all of these things that she's been through, which I'm naming none of them.
And there's quite a lot.
Yeah. But it's nice having a character that we root for.
Yeah, and it's trying to write somebody that, that you do root for, even though she is flawed, and even though she makes some terrible decisions and her judgment is questionable at times. Trying then to go, right, but I do want you to still root for her and for her to come out on top. So it's a constant conversation. It always is. You never go, yeah, I've reached it. That's who she needs to be. You're constantly churning these ideas and think, too much, too little, just enough. How does this play out? And you just don't know until somebody reads it and tells you what they think, whether you've got it right.
I think questionable is a really good point, because her behaviour is questionable, but for the right reasons. Everything is done with what she thinks is the best thing to do at the time.
Yes.
She's not, I can't say she doesn't go in all guns blazing. She maybe occasionally does, but it's more that she kind of considers what she thinks is the right thing and goes with that path.
Yes.
Until something says to her, no, actually, that probably wasn't the best course of action.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's spot on, Sam. You're absolutely right. She believes she's doing the right thing. And certainly in Breakneck Point, she felt she had very few choices, that she was taken down a road that she made the decision she made because she kind of felt she didn't have anywhere else to go. Yeah. And I think also in Slaughterhouse Farm, there is also that turning point where she didn't plan to do this, but she's found herself in a set of circumstances where she now has to go forward and do this, rightly or wrongly. As far as she's concerned, it's for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And again, I think those are things that, on a lesser scale, if you like, that we're all faced with, doing the right thing. What does that mean, doing the right thing?
Yeah, you have to aim for a certain outcome, don't you? And that's what we're all going for. We're all trying to do the right thing with whatever's thrown at us. And thankfully, most of my decisions are nowhere near as tough as the things that Ali has to think about. Yeah, really, really hard. Sarah wants to know, do you have a spreadsheet with characteristics and locations? Do you have a notebook if you wake in the middle of the night with ideas? I do love a spreadsheet, I've got to say. What about you?
Yeah, I don't. The first one, I don't have a notebook. I use notes on my phone. And I am forever putting in words and then coming back a week later and going, oh, I can't now remember what that refers to.
So yeah, you have to put something in brackets after it.
You do. You have to give context. So I do that all the time because things, and I'm sure there's some writers here tonight, things just occur to you at the oddest moments. You can be sat in the cinema watching a film and thinking, oh, actually, I think he should have a moustache, or I think he should have a beard. And so you have to just kind of quickly type it in so you don't forget. So on that level, I do that. Do I have a spreadsheet? I don't use spreadsheets. I use huge amounts of Post-it notes. Huge amounts. And I have
I'm just looking around my desk at the moment.
I bet you've got them as
everywhere.
well. Different colours, anything to keep me engaged and keep the process dynamic and alive as I move through the plotting. So I am a bit of, and cards, I use cards. I'm a bit of a Post-it queen and I go that route. And I do have a written note. So for Liar's Rock, which is the name of book 3 I'm writing, I had all the characters. I felt I needed to write down all their motivations. So I just did a big cast list. So I do have that, but I don't do spreadsheets as such, no.
It made me chuckle when you said about making notes, because one of the things that I wrote down was there's a phrase from part of the book, and it says he's already won over the 8. And then in brackets I wrote pub to remind me of the scene, because if I don't put context next to it, I think I remember what these random thoughts mean. And sometimes you're like, what on earth was I thinking writing that? I will never ever forget what this means. I will just write this down, not a clue.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. No, you've got to give it more, especially if it comes in the middle of the night and it's kind of and you have to write it down. Otherwise you've got no chance whatsoever. You will not remember that great thought you had, other than you think, I had a great thought, but I cannot remember what that great thought was. This
isn't even like writing things for me. This is just everyday life. Write something down. Remember that you need to put that appointment in your phone.
Yeah.
Remember what that is, so that put a note next to it. Otherwise you'll have no clue what you meant.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So what does, I can guess what it means. He's already won over the 8, but I need more clarification of where that comes from.
My editor asked me what, she hadn't come across that phrase. I think it's a sign of my age. It refers to the amount of, I'm going to get the measurements wrong. It's the amount of alcohol you have in your blood. And if you have too much alcohol in your blood levels and you are breathalyzed, and if you are 1 over the 8, then you have failed the breathalyzer and you are a drink driver.
I wondered if it was to do with, whether it was to do with the legal alcohol limit, but then I convinced myself I was probably wrong.
No, it is.
It's some sort of phrase that's one thing over the yard. It's to do with the sun and where the sun goes with shadow. I can't think what the phrase is.
I know what you're getting at. Yeah, I know you're getting at. Yeah, it'll come to me.
Something over the yard arm.
Yeah, there is phrase, something like something over the yard arm, isn't there?
Somebody will tell me. I'm sure somebody will type it in. But I knew I should have written it down because I knew I'd forget. And look what we're talking about, and I forgot. Ridiculous. Laura said so we're talking about things that bother us in books earlier on. It's more the superhuman capabilities of the protagonist to survive very serious injury that would put a real life person in ICU or the morgue that bothers her more. And that's true. Sometimes readers get really annoyed by that. Now, Ali doesn't do superhuman. No. She's very, very realistic. Laura, you'll love these books. You really will. Me and Laura, we've got a good gauge on what each other likes.
All right, thank you. I hope you like them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind superhero kind of people in books. Again, I suppose if it goes with the story, I'm okay with it.
Well, it's interesting because the one that comes to mind is Jack Reacher. He is superhuman, isn't he? And he wins all the fights. He's brilliant at what he does, and I absolutely love Jack Reacher books. I just think there he's a fantastic character. But I know what Laura means. I see it more on television when you see a fight happening on television, and you just think, okay, that first punch would have just downed you. You would not have got back up, and yet they carry on slugging it out, don't they? And thinking, no, you would not have recovered from that. But that takes away the kind of drama and excitement of the scene. I don't see it so much in books, but I get the point. I get the point.
And nowhere in real life or in a book should anybody ever queue up to take their turn at the hero. they would all be on them at once, wouldn't they? They wouldn't be queuing up to wait to...
That's very, very true. They would. They just pile in, wouldn't you? Like you see on these terrible events. And you see
but again, it does hold the suspense, doesn't it? So you would read it and think, oh, and then the next person comes in. So I suppose it depends on the writing.
Yeah. But violence is a really, the writing of violence is a really good point to highlight, actually, because, I am with Laura in that it doesn't take much violence to do an enormous amount of damage to an individual. And that there's incidents in Slaughterhouse Farm, and there isn't much before somebody's seriously hurt. And I think for me that is more realistic. Having done the job years ago and having gone to see people who've been on the receiving end of one punch or one stab wound, the damage it does is phenomenal. It's not a 5-minute fight, it's a 5-second fight.
Charlie, thank you, Charlie, has said sun is over the yard arm. Thank you. I knew somebody would tell me. So obviously that's a different meaning, but it was bothering me that I hadn't written that down because it really bugged me.
Write it
down. Donna said, did you always know you were going to write a series and have plans for the character arcs?
No, I definitely didn't. So the very first book, I won't give too much away, but it ended, and I had no intention. I finished the story. I had no intention of writing anymore. And then when I submitted it to an agent, she said to me, I'm after a series. Would you consider changing certain things in book 1 so that we can take it forward as a series? And I said, yeah, no, absolutely. That would be fantastic. I would have said yes to anything. And of course,
yes, and then figure it out later.
That's right. And then worry about it later. And so that's what we did. And then we took it and we sold it. She sold it to HarperCollins as a series. And then I've just had my contract renewed. And just before it's renewed, they wanted me to flesh out 3 and 4. But also my agent said, right, let's have an ending to this. Let's take it to 6. So 3 and 4 are in the works. I get to write those. I don't know about 5 and 6 yet, but I have a sense of where it's going.
Could you go beyond 6 if that was an option?
Potentially. I don't know the ending of 6 at the moment, so maybe not. But we'll see when we get there.
So everyone, we all need to start monitoring HarperCollins.
Yeah, you do. Yes, please.
Somebody has said, let me see if I can find, I can't see who the comment was from now. The sun's over the yard arm. In general use today, this phrase refers to the time of day when it's considered acceptable to have an alcoholic drink, usually early evening. Usually early evening? I think you've spelled lunchtime wrong.
Lovely. I'm going to use that. The sun's I'm going to announce to everybody, the sun's over the yard arm.
Sun's over the yard arm somewhere. Anyway.
Yeah,
so.
Indeed.
Donna said, yes, Sam, exactly what I was thinking. Come on, Donna, give me a clue. You know what my memory's like. What were you thinking? Somebody's asked if you watch or read true crime to help with your writing. Or, just to extend that for me, does it all come from work-based stuff?
Right. Well, I don't watch true crime. I started to watch The Making of a Murderer. Would it be a bit of a
busman's holiday for you?
There's a little bit of that, and there's a little bit of I feel quite uncomfortable. If I'm honest with some of it's absolutely fine. It's so far in the distance part, it's so far that you can watch it. I watched a Dennis Nilsson adaptation with David Tennant. I thought that was fantastic. Some of the stuff I feel is quite recent, and the victims' families are still around, and it's still fast. I mean, don't get me wrong, true crime is endlessly fascinating. It's more fascinating than fiction in many respects, because it's just unbelievable what people do, but it does make me feel just a little bit uncomfortable, so I don't tend to watch true crime. And there is also an element of I'm a police journalist. I've spent 20 years interviewing people and talking about this, and for me, I like to have a little bit of distance from that, really.
Yeah, most former journalists of some description that I've spoken to all say the same. Some go on to write cozy crime, some write all kinds of different fiction, but a lot of them don't really want anything to do with true crime because they've seen it from the other side. And they just rather make it up, which is completely understandable.
Yeah, it's each to their own, isn't it? Because I know these documentaries are absolutely fantastic. I've heard people talk, and I kind of think, I would quite like to see that, but I just never seem to get around to it. I just never seem to watch them.
Yeah. AJ Aberford said he calls the drinks sundowners, which I think that I might use that now. Sundowners and yard armers.
Yeah.
There'll be something going on.
Yeah.
Donna was referring to, and she said, I need to keep up. The baddie's waiting to be beaten up. It's funny but annoying.
Funny but annoying. It's brilliant. I know what you mean. I didn't realise until you said it, the idea that they just take it in turns to have their go. Yeah, no, that's quite brilliant.
I don't think I ever really noticed it until one day somebody pointed it out, and then you're aware that you've been aware of it and just thought that was normal, because that's what happens in films.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
So we haven't really scratched the surface of this story yet. So you gave us a little introduction at the beginning. So Ali she's off work on compassionate leave because of the events of the first book, and that's where I'm going to leave that. And she is drawn into something else that happens, and it's clear where her passion is, and everybody around us telling her, this is what, you are passionate about this is why you're being drawn back to it. She's due back to work in a few weeks, but still she's kind of drawn back in a little bit earlier, whereas some of us might be like, do you know what? I've got 3 weeks left off. No, not interested. I've got 3 weeks off work. Are you mad? But actually, it's calling to her. She's ready for it, and it's calling to her like a siren song. I thought that was really clever, that just showing her passion. You're not due in for a few weeks, but would you mind just helping on this? Would you have a look at this? And she's really like, it's irresistible. She can't wait. She just has to get stuck back in.
I think that
was clever. Yeah,
it's addictive. I think there are people in policing. I've worked with people who it is addictive. You're in the drama. You're in the middle of the drama, and some of this stuff is endlessly. I mean, it's horrific, but it's endlessly fascinating as well. And I think for Ali, there's an element of guilt as well. She's got a daughter. She does shift work. She just can't get the balance between working and managing her daughter. If she devotes her time to one, she feels that she's neglecting the other. She absolutely loves her job, and yet her job interferes with her parenting her child. And so she has this constant dilemma, which lots of people can relate to, of, well, I've got to do my job because I've got to earn money, but my daughter is making demands on me and needs me. Her daughter's only 15 and is at an age where she needs her mother around her. And so she is constantly torn. And that does come out in Slaughterhouse Farm, where you think that she's got an easy decision to make, actually, given what has happened. But even then, she just can't help herself. It's what she loves. She thinks she's got something she can bring to the table. She thinks she knows her job well enough, and she's happy to take a look and see if there's anything that she can add to the investigation. So yeah, that's where she's at.
And something I really liked about it is that it's very plausible. Everything that happens is something that could happen in real life, so it isn't fantastical. It's all very much things that could happen, and how Ali's responding to them, and how you've written that as the author, obviously. It draws you in, because nothing ever, it feels like you sat watching your friend go through something. It doesn't feel as though, somebody's just made up a story that they're telling you. It very much feels like, this is my friend going through this, and this is devastating. And you're cheering in the good moments. You're so pleased, and there's so much humor and warmth through the story as well. And you're really rooting for Ali, and you're really rooting for Megan, and and Penny. I love Penny.
I love Penny.
It's just there's such a nice situation going on. That's a normal thing that grounds the reader and makes the horror more bearable.
Oh, that's really interesting, Sam. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. And that means an awful lot to me, because, like I say, you don't know if you're getting it right. You don't know how far off the mark you are. So to hear for someone to say that it feels real, it feels real to me as a writer. That these are real people to me. But to try and write it in a way that they become real to others is a real challenge. That's what we try and do as writers. So to hear that is wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I absolutely love Ali. You've written a terrific team, and I'm really looking forward to her growing and the next case and more people, and seeing who else comes into her life and their purpose and how they change her, because every single person that's been around her has had an impact on her in some way. You've put so much thought into every detail. The fact that she just steps off the page just shows how much effort you've put into that.
Thank you. I don't know what to say.
No, we will
a little bit overwhelmed.
So it's reminded Leslie to post her review for Slaughterhouse Farm on Amazon. So
thank you, Leslie.
Intrigued to read that, Leslie. Send it to me and I'll. Somebody has asked, do you have an idea of an actor to play Ali? That was Sarah.
Thank you for. I do actually, and the television rights to Breakneck Point have just been sold. So these are conversations. Yeah,
just pause and enjoy that moment. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm very, very excited. And I don't know much about television, but I do know that it's more woo-woo than publishing, isn't it? So whether or not it'll ever make the screen, I have no idea whatsoever. But the process is beginning, and so we're having conversations, about potential. And the person I'd like to see play Ali is Layla Farzad, who played.
We asked this, and I'm rubbish.
Google. You keep telling us. If you Google her, and I just think, she looks like Ali to me. But other people have mentioned other names like Gemma Whelan, who played Yara Greyjoy in Game of Thrones, who is an amazing actress. She also played in the comedy Shakespeare with David, I can't remember his name, but she played his
I am
daughter.
Dreadful at putting actors and actresses and faces together. I'm terrible at it. And I haven't watched Game of Thrones. People are going to shout at the screen, but I've not seen it. So.
Okay. But she's a great actress. And I think Sian Clifford as well. So there's a whole range of different people who are brilliant and who could play her and make her their own. And I'd be kind of open to anything, really. I think it's, the book is the book and the TV series is the TV series, and it's a different art form. And what happens in that process, I'd be more of a bystander, an interested bystander.
That's interesting. So would you mind if some of the bigger things changed? So, for example, we get some authors on who were adamant, no, it has to be how I imagined it is how it's going to be. Otherwise, it might put people off the books. Or, I imagined it this certain way and that's how I want it to be. Other people are like, do you know what? Give me the money. Do what you want, and I can watch. I can see what happens. I can see what somebody else does with my vision. So
I'm in the last camp. Yeah, I am. I would be intrigued to see what somebody else, because it's all about interpretation, isn't it? So the Ali I have in my head isn't going to be the Ali that somebody else has in their head. And we all have our own take and our own interpretations. So I think for me, I'd be just as excited and interested to see what TV people do with it. And I'm quite happy with them to change bits. That they're the experts in their game, really. So I would kind of stand back. I am the person who would stand back and go, go for it. Let's just see what you're going to do with it. I'm interested to see.
Leslie's saying she loves to hear my enthusiasm for the book. I mean, we know I've been a bit under the weather this week. I finally feel like I can still hear it a bit in my voice. It's nice to just... my adrenaline's running talking about this one.
Brilliant. Thank you.
It's woken me right up, Leslie. Somebody has said clapping hands. Charlie said huge congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's so exciting. I mean, how do you even respond when did you get a phone call, an email?
No, well, it's kind of happened kind of accidentally. I did a course for screenwriting for novelists, and I did it because just in case I didn't get a book deal, and I kind of needed something to console myself. And I thought, I'll have a go at screenwriting then. I'm no good at it. I have learned that much in the last couple of years. I can't do it to save my life. But the lady that ran the course is a script executive, and an executive producer asked her for a particular kind of crime novel, and she said, I've just read one. Here it is. And so the producer read it and said, yeah, I love it. I'm going to option it. So it's been optioned by a television producer, and they are now looking for a production company to fund it. It's now about the money. So it sounds very simple. That's a process that took place over months, but and it is always about the money and a little bit of timing. What else is out there? Whether there's something similar to Ali Diamond already out there, and whether it clashes. There's a million things that can stop this coming to the screen. So I kind of think I just sit back and hope the TV gods are on my side.
Well, here is why I think, and you can chip in with your points as well. Here is why I think it should make it to the TV. It's set in one small area with a couple of mentions of another area, but we don't really visit there. It has a community at the heart of it, a main character that everybody is absolutely going to love, and there are family situations. The whole village, you get to meet lots of different people and see lots of different places. There is so much that you could do in terms of location with it, because it wouldn't have to necessarily be, for example, a butcher's shop. There isn't a butcher's shop, but let's just say, you could change the business natures in there. I'm trying to say it without giving anything away. And there is so much you could do with it. You could literally pick a location somewhere and fit this story to the places that are already there.
Yeah,
it would be so easy to do, and I think I would absolutely love to watch this.
Yeah,
I can't imagine anyone not wanting to watch this.
No, I'd love to as well. But like I say, the option is for 12 months. So they've got 12 months to find someone who will put up the money and put it into production. So it's a who knows game. Who knows?
Tell me who we need to write to, and let's petition. I want to see that.
I will.
Want to see it, absolutely. Can you tell us anything at all yet about book 3, or are you too early in? Is the potential for changes too big yet? Okay.
I'm confidently nodding, but my editor has only just received it. So there's me going, no, it's done, it's finished. And then I'm going to get 20 pages of notes going, look, Tina, you effectively have to rewrite the whole thing because it's not up to scratch. So I can tell you it's set on an island. And I've read a lot of locked room island mysteries recently. And I just thought, I quite like the idea of setting an investigation. So the murder's already happened, if you like, but how do you actually investigate on an island where all your resources are on the mainland? How do you get people out there? How do you get people back? And then you've got the whole issue of the island and who's on the island and whether or not any of the people on that island are guilty. And I just thought I could have some real fun with it and do something slightly different as well. So the third book at the moment is set on an island. It's very personal to Ali because her personal story is that she lost her father, who was a harbour master in the local town, Bidicombe, but he died at sea and she was meant to be with him, but he had put her to land on the rock. It's called Liar's Rock, the island, and he had left her there. And so there's a little bit of a mystery as to what then happened to him, because then he never came back. And so that kind of plays out as a second narrative at the moment. I mean, I'm not being funny. My editor might just say, it doesn't work, take it out. So I'm telling you something that's never going to appear in the book. But I like the idea at the moment. So that happens. And then you've got the kind of the mystery of who's done what to whom on the island and why.
I like the way that the titles just come into play as well, that it's a moment between Ali and her dad. And that's where he sets her down. So now I've got all kinds of things in my head. Yeah, very, very clever.
I hope I get to keep it, actually, because it was a real opportunity to look at her past, because she's adopted and she was raised in this town in North Devon by this couple, and to look at her relationship with her mother, which is fractious in book 1 and also fractious in book 2, and why it's so complicated and difficult, and where her father comes into play, and how really it's about her unresolved grief, in truth, and why it's unresolved. So I really hope I get to keep it, but honestly, I haven't had any feedback yet, and they may just say, yeah, we don't think it works.
I already think it sounds like it works, and I already know that her mother has things bubbling beneath the surface. Ali really thinks she knows her adoptive mum, and actually, does she really know her very well? So it's really interesting to know that that's where you're going to take the third book.
Yeah, I think we need to know more. Bernadette at the moment, that's her mother, Bernadette, is a very distant, cold individual. And, to the extent that Ali's got no idea why a woman like her would adopt a baby and, want to raise a baby when she appears to disapprove of everything that she does. And I think there's some mileage there to find out a little bit more about Bernadette and why she is the way that she is. And also for Ali to understand her mother maybe be a little bit more kind of generous towards her mother as well in that respect. So yeah, there's mileage in there, I think.
I think there's mileage for more humour as well, because she really, Bernadette really has little digs about different things, but then will say something that really takes Ali by surprise. So I won't say what any of those things are, but she just kind of surprises her because she thinks she's going to have this one opinion, and actually she veers off it somewhere else. She mainly falls to the type of who Ali thinks she is, but there's definitely something simmering underneath.
Yeah,
so it'd be really interesting to see more of her.
Yes, it is. I think she's a woman that loves her daughter, but kind of doesn't really know how to express it. And every now and again, she comes out with something that's actually quite helpful and quite surprising to Ali. And that's the point. Ali kind of misreads it, like you say. There's something more to Bernadette, but she's there's this wall, isn't there, between the two of them? And I just think Ali can't kind of get past the wall to find the real Bernadette. So it would be nice to kind of bring that out in book 3 or book 4, whatever I'm allowed to do.
Charlie's asked, have you had the same editor all the way through?
I have. I have Cicely Aspinall, who's at HQ Stories, and that's really important. The relationship you have with your editor is paramount. I trust her implicitly. I trust her judgment. We have very, very intense conversations about where we want the plot to go, or she'll have an opinion, and it'll be a case of whether I can justify what I've done, or I agree to change it, she's brilliant. And the approach that the editor takes, and I think this is quite a standard approach, is they don't tell you how to write the book. They will ask you lots and lots and lots of questions. So you'll go through the questions and then you'll realize, okay, that's a question I hadn't asked myself. And I realize I haven't answered it properly because there's a plot hole. And I now need to go back and I need to fill that hole and ask that question. So that tends to be the approach that they take. And, I saw her recently, and I'd be quite devastated if she left, if I'm honest with you, because you build up such a rapport with your editor that, this is a very personal journey that you're going on, editing a book, giving your words to somebody, letting them read them, and for them to come back and say, this works, this doesn't work. It's a tough process. And so you have to really, really trust that person that's doing that process. So I kind of hope that she kind of stays at HQ for as long as I do, because she's brilliant. She's brilliant.
We have got 10 minutes left. This hour has absolutely flown. And we were talking just before we came online about how you celebrated Publication Day, which is today, but what you've done today and the things you've done leading up to today.
Yeah. Well, last night I had my launch at Barnstaple Waterstones, which is lovely. And my local Waterstones have been really, really supportive, been really brilliant, actually. As a local author, my book is set in North Devon as well. To have that level of local support is really special to me. It really is, because, this is the place that it's all about. North Devon is a character in itself in the book, as far as I'm concerned.
Massively.
And it's important to me that, I get that across. So I had that last night. And today, I would say most of it is spent on social media now. I think lots of writers will find this, that, it is all about the social media. It's all about the promotion going on social media. I've done some radio interviews. I've done some podcasting, and it's been wonderful. I've had somebody sent me a box of, it's called Cake or Death, and it was vegan chocolate brownies. And oh my goodness me! So that went in about 5 minutes. That's I'm still on the sugar high.
For social media first.
Sorry?
Did you get a shot of them for social media first?
I did. I have, actually. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Just before I tucked in, it's empty. It's now in recycling. It's all gone. It didn't last 5 minutes, but that was lovely. And I've had some flowers, and I've just had a really lovely day. And it is. We were talking about this earlier, and I was talking to my husband about it earlier. It's a very strange life, because 90% of my time is spent on my own in front of a computer, and that is what I do. And then literally 10%, and it's probably no more than 10%, I kind of emerge from the darkness blinking, and and I go and talk to people about my books, and that's lovely. I really personally really enjoy it, but it's quite an odd contrast. It's from the sublime to the ridiculous. I don't see anybody for months on end, and then I'm in groups of people talking online, or I'm in a hall of people talking about my book. So it is an odd experience, but it's nice to have a break from the book and to do this, to promote book 2, definitely.
I did say, didn't I? I've seen a tweet this week, and I can't think who it was that shared it. It was another author. And they said it's almost like you're expected to have two personalities. It did make me laugh when you said come blinking into the sunlight. So you literally are spending so much time on your own. Do you need to kind of brace yourself for going out into the world to talk about your books, or is it just natural to you by now?
Honestly, it depends what the occasion is. I like to do Zooms online. I like to do the radio, and I like to do podcasting. When I'm actually in front of a live audience, I do find it nerve-wracking. I do have to take a deep breath and then dive in and kind of get going. Everyone is fantastic and really lovely and warm and friendly and supportive. So I don't really know what it is that's making me so nervous, but I think it's whether or not you're at ease with that. And I'm kind of still finding my way. The more I do, the easier I get. That's for sure. And being interviewed by brilliant people that put you at ease. So really, really makes a difference. I can tell you that. I'm in the middle. I'm okay with it. I do know authors that really, really don't like doing it and really do have to take a lot of breaths before they do it. And I also know authors that, you can't get the microphone out of their hands. They absolutely love it.
Something else I wanted to know, is Ali how you expected her to be? Did you have an idea for who Ali was and how much of a background did you know before you got started? Or has she developed in ways that have kind of you've naturally gone with but you didn't expect?
She's changed, definitely. So I had an idea. I knew I wanted her to be strong and feisty. And because without, I'm not giving anything away, but book one starts with a corruption trial. She basically blows the lid on corruption in the middle of a murder trial, and she's cast aside by her colleagues for blowing the whistle. And she has to kind of fight to get back into investigation because she's now sidelined because nobody will work with her, even though she's done the right thing. So I knew that she had to be a tough character to survive that. And I think then some of the things that happen in book one shape her. So she displays certain attributes and traits because of the situation that she has been placed in. And she doesn't necessarily maintain those because in book two, she is in different situations that bring out different qualities in her. So she's the same person underlying. She's still fighting for what she believes is right. She will stand up for what she will believe is right, even when it goes against others and what they believe in. But I think there are opportunities, and certainly in book three, if I get to look at how she deals with her grief, there are opportunities for her to display other characters. And you talk about the humor. So book one, maybe there's less opportunity for it. In book two, there's slightly more. And in book three, I think because of where she's in her life in book three, that she's potentially at the beginning, maybe a little bit more at ease with herself. She can let that side of her personality come out because that's who we are, isn't it? We're not one dimensional. We all have these qualities. It's what happens to us that brings those qualities out, I think. And so that's how I would describe her going through.
There were occasions where I snort laughed at different lines in this book. Just out of nowhere, something really funny. Oh, my husband's just like been looking at me like, okay, she's off again. I wrote one of them down, and Penny swore off men for good until she answered an advert for manure. Now, if that doesn't make you snort laugh, just out of nowhere, that line coming in, I don't know what will.
That's how we roll in North Devon. That's how we roll.
There's just so many little moments like that just when you could do with something to kind of it's a way of getting to know the characters as well, but just when you need a little light relief from something, a line like that comes in and just cracks you up. Absolutely brilliant. And you are naturally funny, so is that your humor going into the book?
I just think that there needs to be a little bit of light relief as well, and also cop humor is famous, isn't it, for black humor as well? It isn't all gloom and doom. There are wisecracks in the most awful moments. So I kind of think it's life. People do make wisecracks. They do say funny things, and I would like her to have a little bit of a sense of humor, and not to be completely serious about everything all the time. So it kind of suits me to have a little play and have some of those lines in. For me personally, I like to write them in.
And I think that's a great place to ask you to give us a recap of the book. We've got 3 minutes left.
Okay. Right. Well, in case you've forgotten, it is Slaughterhouse Farm, and it opens with an older lady. She's 72 years old, called Miriam Narracott, who is wandering across Exmoor in the middle of the night, and a family of tourists come across her as they're traveling home, and they realize that she is covered in blood and she's holding a knife. We later find out that the victim is her beloved adult son, Gabe, who is found lying in a pool of blood in the farmhouse. So that's the main story. And as it unfolds, we start to understand that Gabe was involved in quite a lot of wheeler dealing that wasn't particularly legal, and that what appears to be a domestic murder may not indeed be a domestic murder. And so we start to follow that investigation through. And then on the other hand, we have Ali Diamond. She is still here. She's on compassionate leave, and she is going through that dilemma of whether or not she can return to work, or whether or not she needs to stay at home and be the parent that she wants to be to her daughter, Megan. So she then gets drawn back in because we have a new DI who isn't terribly trusting of her new team, and she knows Ali is an outsider. And from one outsider to another, she brings Ali in and she asks for her expertise on the murder scene. So Ali goes into the murder scene after it's already been examined. They go through it and they start to see if they can find any inconsistencies and what that means in terms of the truth of what actually happened at Slaughterhouse Farm.
And Ali and Harriet have such a great relationship. There's some brilliant conversations between them. We've not even touched on your excellent dialogue either. But being a fly on the wall for these conversations, yeah, I like Harriet. I'm hoping that she's back in the next one.
She's back. Yeah. And she's still struggling with life in rural Devon.
Well, thank you to everyone who's come along to celebrate your publication day. Thank you for choosing to share it with us at the UK Crime Book Club. And I'm so excited that there's more Ali Diamond books.
Thank you very much, Sam. I really do appreciate it. You've been brilliant. I really appreciate your support as well. It's been lovely to come on this evening and talk about it. It really has.
And fingers crossed that everything is greenlit soon so we can actually watch the series as well.
That'd be amazing.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
It's Sarah said she loves to hear about Go Sam with a petition. The petition I can't take credit for. It's always been Kaz's idea. We should petition Netflix. We need an inside person that we can sit and talk to and say, actually, this is brilliant and we need to see this on a screen. So I am backing Kaz's idea here. Somebody said, thank you, brilliant interview. Thank you both so much. That was Charlie. Sarah, thank you for a brilliant hour. And Laura said, thanks, great hour and books added to shopping list.
Thank you very much.
Laura, you'll love them.
Yes, I hope
and
so.
Congratulations on the first 2 excellent books in your series.
Thank you very much. Thank you.